All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case. Over on Rumble, of course, we have to make sure that we're live. Although chat is working, always a good indicator that probably we are going to be live in about 10, 15 seconds. Lemon Curd 0, glorious morning to Clank. Cam2425IA, morning Clank. Salty Badland says, Ree. And M. Daney 1, morning Clankers. Pagel saying, Clankety McClank, fellow Clankers. Clank on, everybody. Now, there's a lot of shit that we got to go through. We've got a big announcement today, of course. Desantis will be going live tonight. That is Wednesday. You're all now within the same date range if you're in the United States. Tonight with Elon Musk on a Twitter space. I believe that's audio chat specifically. I've never used it, so don't quote me on that. And the assumption is he's going to run for the presidency. Or tease it out. It could be just a teaser. I will be speaking at length about this. I've got multiple feelings with regards to Trump, DeSantis, DeSantis in general, the use of Twitter. It's a good thing in my opinion, and I'll be talking about that at great length. We've also got to talk about other stuff though. We got the governor of North Carolina, Roy Cooper, going completely insane. I talked about that this morning as well. And also the Trumpian path to victory for 24. Regardless of whether, by the way, Donald Trump is the nominee, I suspect that he will be. There's a 95+% chance of that. However, even if not, really the path to victory is Trumpian in nature, which is fucking hilarious to me. He basically made the modern political system, and that will probably hold for, if history is an indicator, 20 to 30 years within that paradigm. Well, we're barely into it, so we'll see what happens. Let's make sure we're live on Rumble, though, before we continue. Yes, we're live on Rumble. 100 people are watching. Oh my God, I can feel your eyes upon me. Well, Dickie Dick is staring back at you, so yeah, even Stevens. By the way, link in the description on all platforms I'm on to the Twitter audience out there. I cannot see what you're saying, and I do apologize for that. In the future, I will have a better office setup with a second screen, probably a beefier, like a desktop rig, et cetera, and a better microphone, better camera. Right now, this is the best that I can do. I'm literally sitting in the living room. But to everyone, cross-platform, there is a link in the description to a work that I made, available now on Amazon. Orange Man Big. If you want to see comical leftist fantasies, where totally fictitious, by the way, characters from the left or TDS sufferers in general fantasize about Donald Trump and then get humiliated in the process, you should get a copy of that. I will be writing a second volume of Orange Man Big. I'm actually, as of this morning, completed the 10th edited work of the year. I haven't released any of them yet. I wanted to edit them first. And we're not even halfway through the year. I've got a month and a week before that happens. So I've decided to tack on 5 additional edited works. I've got a half a dozen works that I want to write as well in that same period, and a re-edit actually of one of the best-selling older works that I've done. So I've got a huge amount of literary work to do over the subsequent roughly 7 months. And I'm enjoying it because it's actually relaxing to me. I get to read while I edit. And when I'm writing things, it's for my own amusement as much as yours. So, yeah. The Metal Guy. Styx admits to making over 6 figures. Can't afford a new $200 monitor or $50 microphone. Come on, dude. Yeah, but I've only got so much room here. Now, this is a nice place that we're renting, but I don't have an actual office. I'm literally taking up part of the living room in order to do my material. And so, yeah, I can definitely afford an extra monitor. The problem being I don't have any place to put it. At the moment, I'm limited by that. Yeah. Saltine76. Styx, are we allowed to touch your Dickie Dick? No, only Liz can do that. Also, it's a Dickie Dick with double K's, actually. It's not a dick. It's a fatty fat cat. That's literally what it translates to. But yeah, we got lots of news to cover. The main news of the day, DeSantis to open presidential bid by out-Trumping Trump. Yeah, there's a little bit of spin and hyperbole with regards to this. And I would point out, and somebody needs to talk to Donald about this. I've made it clear I support Donald Trump. I'll be voting for him. I want him to be the nominee, and I suspect that he will be in the end. He's, again, there's almost a 40-point gap between him and DeSantis. DeSantis could gain 10 points on the basis that he actually jumps in, and he would still be far behind. The writing, in my opinion, is roughly on the wall. That being said, let me go through this. First, I hope DeSantis makes an actual announcement. There's no guarantee that he will. This could be scuttlebutt about the likelihood of an announcement. He could announce an exploratory committee, which, by the way, is political suicide. If I had any advice for DeSantis that maybe I shouldn't give, but I will anyway, don't waffle on it. Say you're in or say you're out. Leave it at that and be done with it. If you're going to get in, you're going to take less lumps by just getting in and saying, look, I'm going to stand for the nomination for the GOP. You're going to take flack from your own fans if you announce an exploratory committee, and some people are speculating that's what he's going to do. Elon Musk, who has expressed support for DeSantis, would probably balk at such a thing and say, well, oh, an exploratory committee. I like cotton over there. Why don't you just say that you're in or out? I think that would vex many of his fans, and it would be disastrous for his political future. Just say that you're in or say that you're out. In my opinion, it's very, very likely that he's going to get in. By the way, to Italy Saurez, yes, I am shadow banned on YouTube. Now, I've seen a precipitous drop in attention on that platform that's not commensurate with any other platform over the last 3 days. And that only happens when the algorithms shift. It's happened before. We'll work through it. People should be joining me on other platforms where I'm not completely screwed, blued, and tattooed by a platform that I've been making money for over a decade. So, yeah. BD3 Thought Criminal. Yay, got fired yesterday, so let's go live. My condolences or my congratulations, depending on how much you liked your job. In the Bidenomic economy, having a form of employ or 2 or 3 is usually necessary for the average person. Anyway, as far as DeSantis, let's go through it. That's number 1. Either announce that you're running or announce that you're not running. Don't waffle about it. For Christ's sake, if you announce an exploratory committee, you're done. If you announce that you're in, you probably lose, but at the very least, you didn't look indecisive. So that would be a positive for him if he does. Secondly, it is wise for DeSantis to choose Twitter, of all places, to do this. Number 1, because he's been pulling on the free speech sort of thing. Trump really does better in this respect, or at least has since his post-presidency. His very first campaign platform ad was, hey, we need an Internet Bill of Rights. We need to reform 230 to make it clear that it's a platform or a publisher. By the way, I made a video on it at the time. He ticked literally every box that I could possibly hope for. The cornucopia of gifts that Donald Trump will give me with regards to internet free speech is exactly what I want. I couldn't have written some parts of it better than myself, so I give him kudos for that. Now, Ron DeSantis, though, is skirting the same effective platform, the same plank in his platform, rather. And by going on Twitter, which has been maligned by the left-wing media, that's a good strategy. It also puts pressure on Trump. Of course, Trump was known for being the mean tweeter, of course. Well, if Trump is absent from Twitter and Ron DeSantis shows up and says, hey, I'm running, and capitalizes upon that, to use the proper term, it's good for him. That's a good strategy. Ron DeSantis is showing strategic strength in that. There is one problem, which is the outside possibility that Donald Trump decides to show up and back on Twitter and say kafefe or something during the actual speech, or maybe slightly before it, stealing all the thunder. Ron DeSantis, if Trump is smart, and somebody get it to him, get to this idea to him. You're already being sued by Jude Carroll. You're already being sued by the Manhattan DA. You're already being attacked legally by Georgia, et cetera, et cetera. You've got a shit ton of legal problems, none of which are legitimate, but you do have them. Now is not the time to worry about the fact that you have a contract with Truth Social. Now is the time to put out a tweet on Twitter and rob all the oxygen from the room. Donald Trump could easily destroy DeSantis tonight in one fell swoop with a one-word tweet. He has that capability, and Ron DeSantis presumptively understands this. I think he's assuming that won't happen. It's unlikely, but there is a possibility that that occurs. And I would encourage Donald Trump to do that. Whether he does or not, of course, remains to be seen. He seems to be tied from Truth to Truth Social, which I think at this point is actually dragging him down. I think that he should change that up. I think that he should go back to Twitter. Ron DeSantis, in my opinion, does have some populistic views. Again, I will be on the Trump train. I'm not going to be supporting Ron DeSantis. I'm more interested in analyzing how effective his pitch is, assuming that that's what he's doing. We don't 100% know that he's going to, number one, announce, and number two, that if he makes an announcement that he's actually in. He could very well talk to Elon Musk for an hour and not confirm or deny that he's running. He could announce an exploratory committee. Again, a terrible idea, but he could do that. He could also announce that he's standing down. He could announce that he's endorsing Trump. He could announce that he's endorsing someone else, Asa Hutchinson, Nikki Haley, for what little it's worth. We're not 100% sure. There is no certainty. There's just a speculation that it's likely he's announcing the beginning of his presidential campaign. Again, with or without the exploratory committee, without is far better for him as a politician. It's a good strategy overall to do it on Twitter, but I won't be supporting him. HB 269 goes too far for me. I can't support him after that because it's a blatant attack on free speech. And if Ron DeSantis wants to walk the walk, which is going on Twitter, again, maligned by the liberal side of the legacy media as being far right and disinfo and all this other bullshit, if he wants to do the free speech thing, HB 269 kind of nullifies that for me. It's a bridge too far, and I stated that months before he made that decision to sign off on that bill, that I could no longer support him unless certain aspects of that were portioned out of the bill. They weren't. He signed it anyway. But I am more interested in the analysis of how effective it is. So we're going to rank him. I'm going to watch it when it's done or listen to it. Again, I think it's audio only. And I'll be listening carefully. And if it is an announcement of a political nature, again, this could be shenanigans, and it could be just DeSantis is revving up the crowd to get attention. And then it has nothing to do with politics. It's something to do with Neuralink or the Boring Company, or it's something to do with his wife and cancer or whatever. Assuming that it's political, I will be giving him a rating. And I'm going to be blatantly honest. He might knock it out of the park, get an A+. He might flub it and get an F. We'll wait and see, basically. The Defamation League. Now that Musk has shown support for DeSantis, I can definitely say I will not be voting for DeSantis, who has his own free speech issues. Palpatine it is. Yeah, again, DeSantis has done some good things, especially with regards to the Martha's Vineyard illegal alien invasion switcheroo. That being said, HB 269 is too far. I pointed that out, and so I can't support him. If he ends up the nominee, there's an outside chance, then, I guess I'll vote for myself. Hunter Wadley, I'm voting for Trump. In DeSantis' defense, there will not be an easier punching bag than Biden. I believe ever GOP field should be packed. The GOP field, as we will see with McAuliffe, which I'll be talking about. Is it? No, not McAuliffe. Youngkin. Sorry, I get them mixed up because there's no demonstrable difference outside of education and abortion. As we'll see with him, it doesn't look like there will be a massively packed field. If DeSantis does stand down, I suspect Christie gets in and Pence considers him. If he gets in, I suspect that Pence and Christie both stand down. You've got a reasonable field, but you don't have a packed field. Let's see. The Patriot Cairo. Did you see the NAACP has issued a travel warning for Florida? Yes, I did see that. They say Florida is belligerent towards blacks. Lol, we have a black senator and surgeon general. Yeah, of course. But the NAACP wants money. BD3 Thought Criminal sent $1. No comment. Thank you. EO, bought your book, Wokeness is Wrong. Gets here Friday. Nazi van incident? Yes, we will be talking about the supposed Nazi van ramming the security barricade at the White House and how fucking funny that story is. Cosmic Toby 911 sent $1. No comment. Thank you. Anyway, yeah, so DeSantis is probably getting in less than 24 hours. There's a possibility he stands down. There's a possibility that it's not political at all. Most signs point to him deciding to run, but we'll wait and see. We're not 100% sure. Next news story. North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper declares state of emergency over school choice bill. Republican state lawmakers have planned to use their veto-proof majority to pass educational reform. Yes, school choice has taken off in North Carolina. This is a state where the Republicans have a supermajority in the House and the Senate, but they have a Democratic governor who was elected on honk honk. Totally appropriate voting totals and methodologies, of course. Most accurate elections ever, the last couple that we've had. Everything was perfect. There were problems in all the other ones. The last two, though, you can't question them, legally speaking. Anyway, the Republicans there want school choice. That's basically the concept that your kid is like hyper smart, but you live in a shitty part of town with a shitty school. And so you've decided to send them to a school that can actually, they have a gifted kids program or something. And there are only a couple of groups of people in the United States that oppose school choice. Number one, rich bitch NIMBYists. They don't want the draws, the rebel, the poor kids to be in their schools. They want their school to be filled with upper middle class kids, basically. Number two, people so deep in the ghetto that, school choice wouldn't affect them because they would have to go 30 minutes out of their way to get to a school that was marginally good because all the other ones that are local suck. So you're in inner city Detroit. Well, school choice doesn't matter to you, not unless you want to drive an hour every single day, every single fucking morning. And number three, politicians, specifically people like Roy Cooper, who sent his kids to private school. I wonder why he doesn't want school choice. Interesting. I've stated for years that public officials should have to put their kids in the public educational system. I guarantee there'd be more support for school choice. And I pointed out this morning, the Democrats really are fucking themselves on the issue. On education, the Republicans are not supposed to win. The Republicans are supposed to be the stupid party. That's sort of long-standing tradition. The Democrats are evil. The Republicans are dumbasses. Instead, the Democrats have become the dumbasses on the issue by opposing things like school choice and propping up critical race theory. They've lost on all these issues. It's not clear what Roy Cooper even seeks to do here. With a state of emergency being declared in order to prevent a meaningful vote on the issue, it's naked and transparent overreach. It's probably not constitutional. It's presumptively going to be overridden anyway. I don't know what he's seeking to do. I guess he isn't going to seek re-election because I don't think he's going to get it. At least a significant minority of liberals support school choice too. It's not even that partisan an issue because it's popular among most people in the population. Again, other than a handful of NIMBYists, like the erudite snobs, politicians, okay, that's a small portion of the population, and then people in the inner city who all vote Democrat anyway, their minds are all made up. They would like to be masochists. They would like to continue voting for the policies that keep them ghettoized. And as this morning, I pointed out something, and I think that it's pertinent. Effectively, a lack of school choice is educational redlining. Redlining is the practice of cutting up a city with highways or other barriers that are impassable to civilian traffic in order to break the city apart into separate suburban and urban neighborhoods in order to segregate them effectively, to keep the ghetto town over here. And then you have to go a mile north to actually cross under the underpass to get to the next neighborhood, then come back down. The next one over is the white suburban neighborhood, et cetera, et cetera. It is, by the way, racialistic. That is why that originally occurred. I would say that a lack of school choice is effectively redlining for education. The Democrats, once again, are supporting a bigoted policy that will prevent some people that are very gifted from going to a school with a proper program, that will prevent people from having choice. Parents will have to either use a private school or self-educate. They'll have to use tutors and or homeschooling, or they'll have to deal with a public school program that may not actually reward their child for the merit that they have. If you have some ghetto-ass school in the middle of the inner city that your kid is going to, they probably don't have a lot of AP programs. Well, your kid may get straight A's and have a 150 IQ, but because you're poor and or because you're black, Roy Cooper wants you not to go to a proper school where you can get a proper education preparing you for college. That's the long and short of it. I'm surprised that liberals have taken up this particular line on this issue. It's inexplicable. The Republicans are the ones that are supposed to fuck themselves, not the Democrats. The Democrats are just supposed to do evil things. Well, I mean, I guess this is evil, but at the same time, it's also a self-screwing. I think he should be impeached for this. Using a state of emergency to try to prevent a meaningful vote by a legislature will go against you and override your veto is beyond the pale. The people of North Carolina need to get rid of Roy Cooper. King of Biltong, good morning from Antons in Roanoke, Texas. Code Styx, free shipping, hashtag Clank Nation. I can't get your Biltong because I'm over here in Europe. I'll make up for lost time when I'm back in the States, my dude. Me down there, I'm going to end up 300 fucking pounds with a coronary eating biltong. That Indian dude, with Ukraine suffocating oxygen around military news, did you manage to keep up with Tigray war? Yes, I've been monitoring that. Estimated 400,000 to 600,000 civilians killed. Ethiopian ruler Abiy Ahmed, recipient of Nobel Peace Prize, by the way. Yeah, I keep up with that, as well as other conflicts in the world, which are constant. Usually caused by some larger power, the US, the British, the Russians, the Chinese. Race, Styx, first super, 26 solar rotations old, just got out of 6-year relationship, packed my stuff overnight, and U-hauled 5 hours to my hometown bubble, up of Michigan. Any advice or words for my next chapter of life? Do some more self-improvement. If you have any shortcomings, try to eliminate one. If you have any skills, try to build one. If you can do both, all that much better. And then you'll be in a better position for a better relationship in the future. By the way, if you're only 26, you may feel like you're getting up there. Trust me, as a 35-year-old, you're a spring chicken. Don't worry too much about it. Brian Zwart, pardon the trolls, Styx. They're still waiting on their Marxist free stuff. Trickstari, why don't you move back to the U.S.? Well, right now I'm with my wife and child in the Netherlands. I've got a wife and a baby daughter who's not much more than a year old. I'll definitely be going back and forth, and I would like to reestablish in the United States, although at this point I'm hesitant to do so in the state of Vermont because of the gun laws, the taxes, and, well, literally everything else because the fucking state is falling apart. But right now I want to work on getting a driver's license here and locking things down. Once everything has permanence here, I can come and go as I want, and there's no restrictions on it. So that's sort of what I'm aiming for. But I do intend to visit the United States for a prolonged length of time, probably in late summer, early autumn. That's what I would want. I need to rehab the garden in Rutland because I like gardening. I want to look into properties potentially in New Hampshire, actually, the Granite State, the Free State, and many other things because I haven't seen my family in a while. Ozzy's Robots invited the Desantis to my museum preview event in December 2022. They waited until the last minute, then stiffed me. They're from the area and visit often. Oh, you literally invited the DeSantises to your museum event? Jesus. Testing 2741. Number one, school choice opponents, teachers unions. Yeah, there's a fourth group in the United States that doesn't want school choice. They want to be able to do a shitty job and face no repercussions. Big Mike, howdy from Texas, Styx. Nice. Jerenin, picking cherries in the front yard. Life is good. Clink. The Patriot Cairo, I love Trump. I love DeSantis, my president and my governor. I don't understand why Ron doesn't just rally with Trump. Would be so much stronger. There's always the outside possibility that that's his announcement tonight. In a few hours, we could be treated to Ron saying, no, I'm not going to run at all. I don't necessarily like Trump 100%. He'll declare that. I don't necessarily like Trump 100%. I'm not sure that he can win, but, I've seen the writing on the wall with the polls, and I'm a governor, and, he could do that. There's a possibility. It's not immeasurable. I'm just not expecting that. While it would be hilarious, I'm expecting him to announce that he runs. Sigil Stone 17 on Rumble. Morning, Styx. I heard DeSantis stream on Twitter will be him pointing a gun at his foot and threatening to shoot that bastard clean off if his poll numbers don't go up. Yes, he is below 20 points in the polling. To be clear, Donald Trump is approaching 60. Again, what are you hoping to accomplish, my dude? Null hypothesis. Trump has been survived the biggest political media rectal exam in the history of history. But Trump is bulletproof. DeSantis for POTUS would give the media new life by becoming the next news target. And Sigil Stone's follow-up of all the states to just say to hell with it and go full tin horn. I didn't have North Carolina on my bingo card. Yeah, but it's not the legislature or anything. It's just the governor. And it's a futile move. It's going to get overruled. They're going to take it to court. And they're going to say, no, you can't have a state of emergency because the opposition party you don't like wants to pass school choice. It's fucking bullshit. That's what's probably going to happen. Null hypothesis. E. Jean Carroll did more to boost Trump's re-election than any super PAC. Alvin Bragg will do the same. Yeah, exactly. Swamp Donkey. Teachers' unions need to be abolished, along with withholding funds to universities that teach all the BS leftist degrees. I agree with both points. Not a banned account. Styx. Will many people in our gen be able to retire? I'm not planning on retiring, nor would I want to. I want to work and die with my boots on, but I'm atypical in that regards. The idea of retiring, like just sitting on your front porch sipping tea and stuff, like Jesus Christ. I couldn't stand it. I'd go crazy. I'm too ambitious, I suppose. M. Harry 24. Hey, Styx. OTW to London. Any places you recommend to visit? Secretly planning to sneak over to Ukraine and liberate Coach Red Pill. We'll send Gonzalo your regards. Thanks for the content, buddy. Clank. I don't know. On the way to London. Well, I've never been to London or England at large, and probably never will. If you mean you're going through the Netherlands, yeah, the whole Amsterdam area is worth visiting. Other than the red light district. The tourist traps avoid. Everything else is fine. The Defamation League idea. Ban government employees from unionizing. I think we should do that. I agree. And Swamp Donkey. Also, Texas just passed anti-DEI legislation. Universities will soon have to abolish DEI offices. Good. I'll probably be talking about that then tomorrow. Next news story. This is an opinion piece from the New York Post. How Republicans avoid a humiliating 2022 repeat and win in 2024. The funny part is, although this article is non-committal with regards to which Republican can do this, it effectively insinuates that you either have to be Donald Trump or act exactly like Donald Trump in order to do that. See, Donald Trump did something that a lot of Republicans didn't. He showed up to places in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, et cetera, states that were written off by the GOP. And he went into the small towns where there were a lot of Republicans that nonetheless didn't turn out to vote because they were demoralized. And he moralized them. He did this over and over and over again for over a year. And that's why he won in 2016. 2020 Hong Kong was perfectly appropriate, but apples to oranges, there were other things going on at the time. Some of those things aren't going on in 2024. For example, there is no pandemic to lock things down. There's no legal justification for expanded mail-in access. Several states have defortified and several others might, Arizona being one of them. Depending on whether the plenary powers are injuncted by a court, which is illegal, but they can unfortunately do it anyway at a whim, or whether they're upheld in the state of Arizona. In my opinion, Donald Trump should be the nominee, and he should go barnstorming again. Go to areas in states that are reasonably on the fence. So Arizona, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, you can probably write it off at this point. You'd probably be better off in Virginia, actually. Go to those states and go to the small towns and suburban communities and just go on a holy terror and have your proxies and surrogates doing the same thing. Do I think DeSantis could pull it off? Yeah, he's young. He's got energy. His speaking skills, though, are not necessarily subpar, but they're not great. He doesn't have a huge amount of charisma. There's no other Republican in the field, in my opinion, that has any charisma. Larry Elder is written off. Vivek Ramaswamy is a good potential candidate. He'd be maybe even a decent running mate, but he's not getting any attention. He's sort of a two-trick pony at this point. Nikki Haley's a war-con. Asa Hutchinson is a war-con. Tim Cotton is a fucking joke, which is why they're trying to astroturf him. I think that Trump should be the nominee, and I think that he's the one that can carry it over the finish line. I do not believe that Donald Trump is doomed if he gets in, and they won't let him win. That's black-pilling bullshit to keep you demoralized and to keep you from getting active. But you can't just go and vote on election day. You have to do some stuff before then. Go knock on doors, go canvass, shitpost online, make your memes, do whatever you have to do. And in the end, I believe that Donald Trump has the greatest possibility of going full Grover Cleveland mode, thus fracturing the leftoid narrative and crashing the goddamn legacy media. And it would be goddamn hilarious. He might even be able to do that from a jail cell. So I think there would be nothing more American than for the people at large to speak out and say enough of this horse shit. Yeah, you've jailed the dude, you've indicted the dude, you're dragging him through court, et cetera, you've abused him for years, but we're going to vote for him any fucking way. There's nothing that I can think of that would be more pure Americana based on our long history of really looking at people who have dubious characteristic backgrounds and applauding them, sort of a Bonnie and Clyde or something like that, and elevating them, giving them folkloric status, and then sometimes electing them to office in the process. I would think that Trump would be obviously number one on that list. This entire article, again, it's not a pro-Trump piece. In fact, it tries very hard to be not pro-Trump, but yet it makes the actual argument for it, that Trump should be the nominee, and anyone else who is the nominee and isn't Trump is going to have to play the same game in order to win anyway, because they're going to have to do that barnstorming. So, yeah. I just thought that was a funny one. Let's see. Bento Whelan. I live in North Carolina and despise Roy Cooper. It is impressive we have the first lobotomized governor, though. Not a band account. I want to retire to searching for Bigfoot and UFOs. Oh, you can make money off of that. Just get a TV show going. Lots of those. Bigfoot Hunter, whatever the fuck it was, back in the 2010s. EO, hey Styx, would you be willing to write a book about the decline of marriage and the rise of divorces in the U.S.? I could look into it. I don't know that there's enough to really write even a short booklet on the topic. I'm not as interested in that as I am political debate and analysis and things like that. Reese, all I can say is thank you, Styx. My cheeks are stained from the smile you put on my face. You're 100% correct. I have grassroots support here. Well, there you go. Yeah, again, learn one new skill, drop one vice, or improve one, failing, or if not failing, just something that you're not as good at, and you're golden. If you can just show that much self-restraint and self-respect, you're already ahead of 90% of the population. Build a little bit of charisma too, people enjoy that. You don't have to be rich in order to find a mate. King of Biltong agreed on retirement. Cannot sit around dying. What was the sleep advice you gave? Someone mentioned it 2 days ago on your live broadcast. Yes, if you want better sleep, chamomile is great, especially if it's homegrown, freshly brewed. Valerian can help as well. And also meditation. Lay there in bed on your back with your arms at your side and feel your body and try to cast your awareness from top to bottom and back up again. Do that for 5-10 minutes, and once you sort of master it, it's really relaxing physically and mentally, and you will generally get better sleep. It works for me, and I'm a chronic insomniac because my mind goes a million miles a minute every night. Not a bad account. My significant other liked Orange Man big. Thanks. I'm glad. Volume 2 coming soon. This summer, Donald Trump causes orgasms. My camera decided to fuck itself. As usual. There we go. Hair Juicer 3000. I'm packing up for the Summer Camp Music Festival. 4-day party, 200 bands. See you next week. Sorry for corn syrup comment, lol. It's a lot of fucking bands. You got any goth rock there? Any classic? Get King Crimson aboard. Lillian, if they charge this person with the van, they need to charge everyone on 52920 when they set fire to the St. James, broke down the guardhouse. Yeah, I'll be talking about the U-Haul driver. Don't worry. Aussie's Robots. If Trump was doomed, the establishment wouldn't be desperate to take him out. I agree with that. My guess is he has a more private than Secret Service to avoid being JFK'd. Yes, he does have his own private security as well. Not a bad account. Is ethnic Indian white supremacism a growing threat? Yeah, the Nazis are great at public outreach. They become so tolerant and diverse. They come in every color, both genders. There are dwarves and transgendered people and cross-dressers and lesbians, and yeah, anyone can be a Nazi these days. I'm beginning to think that they're the diverse ones. Swamp Donkey. Desantis reminds me of a guy who eats spaghetti with his hands. Also, anti-First Amendment Ronnie can fuck off. Christ. I don't have a huge hate boner for DeSantis. I'm just, number one, I'm going to support Trump. And number two, I can't support DeSantis because of HB 269. Most of the other things that he's done, they can be cringy at times, but they're not a terrible thing. John Diamond. Good morning, Lord Styx. Catching you live. This is an unexpected pleasure. You are honored by our presence. I have an unexpected urge for biltong. Well, Anton can set you up. I mean, Jesus Christ, must have moved hundreds of pounds of product since he began making the Superchats. That's a lot of dead animals. And they're tasty when they die. You know, when they suffer before they die, they're even tastier. Bud Light buying back unsold and expired beer from wholesalers as sales continue to suffer, according to a report. This is from the Wall Street Journal originally, by the way. The WSJ is woke, so if they're reporting on it, I'm inclined to believe that it's true. Bud Light has reportedly informed wholesalers it would buy back unsold beer once it expires, which most of it will, as the company continues to face backlash from its polarizing pact with trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney. I would like to point something out real quick. At this point, this is no longer about Dylan Mulvaney or Bud Light going woke. This is about their heap upon heap upon heap, layer upon layer of bad responses to the controversy. It's not about the original controversy. That would have given them a hit. It wouldn't have been a good idea, and lost them a lot of revenue, a lot of customers. But it was solvable. A person with any acumen, with any fucking skill dealing with people at all, could have taken fucking 2 minutes and figured out a way to deal with that. They should have called me. Their sales totals would be down, but they certainly wouldn't be 26% down. What they should not have done is repeatedly respond to the controversy in stupid ways. Each time that they do that, the sales get worse, and they've now done it 5 different times. The latest one was with the camo cans. We're going to get Americans to drink Budweiser products. You know, you destroy your liver with our company, not the other companies. We put camouflage on our cans. See, we like FUDs, we like duck hunters and stuff like that. That's just dumb. It doesn't make any sense. And so now, Anheuser-Busch is telling wholesalers, don't worry, we won't let you beer wholesalers go out of business. We'll buy back the product when nobody fucking buys it. When you have to buy back a product that has been soaring on ahead, up and up and up continuously, more and more popular, one of the main beer brands in the whole fucking goddamn world, and now you're buying back a significant proportion of that product because it's all expiring, that's not a good look. By the way, I would point out that expired beer is drinkable. It's expired because it no longer tastes the same. The bubbliness goes away, it sours a little bit. That beer years later is probably still at least edible. And it's alcoholic because it's beer. It contains alcohol, so it tends to resist over time the intrusion of bacteria. The same is true of wine. You can end up with a wine bottle that was in someone's cellar for 200 years and it's actually smoother than ever. They've even recovered wine and other spirits from shipwrecks 500-600 years ago. They may not be necessarily the most tasty things in the world, but they're still gourmet. You know, Captain Hook bottled this in 1699 or something. You know, Thomas Jefferson's private blend. And so people will still drink it. And they'll actually obtain a bottle for thousands or tens of thousands of dollars in some sort. Beer, I don't think will last that long, but if it's expired, it's still drinkable. Why don't you just leave the expired beer on the shelf? It's piss beer. Nobody cares about the flavor. They're drinking it to get drunk. Nobody drinks Budweiser in order to enjoy the flavor or anything like that. Not a bad account. Odds the United States ends federal pensions or Social Security. 0%. Not going to happen. Nick Severance. Desantis is Bush 3.0. Love you, Styx. No gay. I put him more on the line of Ted Cruz. So a waffler and a strategist and an opportunist. I don't think that he's deep uniparty. I think he's willing to walk the uniparty walk, though, if necessary to get into power. And so he's better than a Bush. He's more like a Ted Cruz, in my opinion. Drennan, I clinked instead of clanked. Forgive me. Ego te absolvo. You are forgiven for your sin. I did notice, though, by the way. Hair Juicer 3000, Mastodon, Leslie Claypool, Willie Nelson. Ooh, Willie Nelson. Disco Biscuits, Boogie T Bluegrass starts at noon. Music gets more intense throughout the day until 4 a.m. Then you're going to get some black metal aboard. Get Marduk on there. Get Guar. Somebody contact Sleazy. They should be going to that particular concert. Next news story. Here's the one that a lot of people are talking about. U-Haul driver faces multiple charges after crashing into security barrier near White House and Lafayette Square, police say. Yeah, he's supposedly a white nationalist. They had a very carefully cropped picture of a swastika flag out by the U-Haul, which was empty, by the way, so it's not explosives or anything. And he crashed into the barriers at slow speed. They're not 100% sure that it was on purpose. I have a feeling we're going to find out that it wasn't, that it was inadvertent. He's supposedly a Nazi. Of course, he's got a Nazi flag. He's got a U-Haul, so clearly that's a Timmy McVeigh reference. He was probably trying to kill Joe Biden. Oh, here's his name, though. Sai Varshith Kandula. He's one of those Modi fans. He's clearly a Hindu nationalist. The swastika is not considered as forlorn and depraved in India as it is in parts of the West. So it is. It's believable that someone who's like a Hindu nationalist or something might have had such a flag, or maybe it was being shipped. We're not 100% sure that it was even his. That being said, this kind of glows in the dark. And he was 19 years old, by the way, of Chesterfield, Missouri, so nowhere around D.C. This story is a little bit suspicious to me. I think I'm going to keep an open mind and not just assume that he was actually a super Nazi trying to kidnap Joe Biden, because clearly ramming into a security barrier at 20 miles an hour is not going to accomplish that. Makes no sense. Nothing about the story makes any sense whatsoever. And I mean, there's no bomb. There's no, he doesn't have a gun or anything like that. No explosives. He's just got a flag next to him, and he's driving a U-Haul through Lafayette, hits the security barrier in a slow speed manner, and all of a sudden gets swarmed. And then they happen to have just enough time for a great photo op with the swastika flag laying outside the U-Haul, insinuating, of course, this was clearly Reinhard Wolfshammer, and clearly there's a reason that he wanted to kill or kidnap or injure Joe Biden, or maybe the people in the White House at large. But it wasn't Reinhard Wolfhammer. It was Sai Varshith Kandula. So yeah, there's a reason, by the way, with this sense of humor, there's a reason that I want to visit India at some point. Indian food is top tier. I don't understand people that don't like it. Like Liz, actually, she doesn't like curry. And I'm like, oh, you're married to someone that dumps it in every other dish, so you're going to have to make do sometimes. Adam Smith, true story. There are many Hindu women named swastika. Yeah, it's considered mainly a good luck symbol or a Ganesha symbol in Hinduism. It's not considered to be offensive, although I will note that Hitler ice cream cones are actually sold in India. There are people there that like Nazi subculture. Mostly it seems to be tied into fashion more than actual political ideology, or it's seen as like a symbol of power or nationalism in general, and they're Hindu nationalists. That's a thing too. Of course, Hitler fighting the British probably didn't harm that basic ethos. The British being the overlords of India for a significant period of time. We don't know why the flag was there, but we're being told this was clearly a white nationalist, although he's not white. He is of Indian or Pakistani origin, and presumptively Hindu, possibly Islamic. It clearly does not fit in with the Ku Klux Klan, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, come on. At some point, the glowing is a little bit transparent, isn't it? Not a bad account. How fortified are the 24 elections from threats? They are less fortified than in 2020, significantly less so in a couple of states, and there may be a third, Arizona following suit. We're going to have to follow that plenary powers case closely. I suspect that it will be drawn out in protracted litigation. That may not be the case. I may be being too pessimistic with regards to that. I'm hoping that I am. The next news story, the GOP primary might be over before it starts. Well, that depends on what happens tonight, by the way. It could be over literally in a few hours. If Desantis decides to stand down, Donald Trump is the nominee. There's nothing that can stop him. Putting him in a jail cell won't stop him. Mike Pence getting in probably helps him more than anything else. That's just the way that it's going to work. We're going to have to wait and see whether there's going to be at least one kind of viable opponent. DeSantis should have gotten in months ago when he was riding high at around 30. Instead, he's now below 20, and now is the time that he potentially steps in. I don't see him cracking 35. And I see him getting a handful of delegates in a handful of races and then eventually dropping. Whether he endorses Trump or not is another thing altogether. Donald Trump's rivals are in denial. This is by Tom Nichols, by the way. This is The Atlantic, by the way. The Atlantic is one of the liberal rags. Basically, right now, liberal outlets are of two minds. There are some that think that Donald Trump cannot win. And so they're hoping that he's nominee because they don't believe that he can win a general election, even against Joe Biden. who is not likely to be able to campaign much, has dementia, cannot debate, and might be overseeing a significant recession at the time. I disagree with them, but they have that particular belief. There are others that think that Donald Trump is a danger because he will win. And the Atlantic is in the latter category, generally speaking. I know this is an opinion piece, but it sort of coincides. They're trying to warn liberals, please, fix your fire on Trump and ignore everything else, because if he gets in there, he actually has a shot at winning. They understand the reality. Nikki Haley is barely campaigning. Asa Hutchinson, nobody knows who he is. Ramaswamy has some good ideas, but again, he doesn't have any name recognition. Larry Elder is ignored even by the legacy media. Mike Pence probably won't even get in. Youngkin has effectively ruled it out. We'll be talking about that next. That leaves DeSantis. DeSantis is the only hope of the non-MAGA or TDS sufferers to have a nominee other than Donald Trump. The odds of that happening are at best 5%. That's the best case appraisal for Ron DeSantis. And they understand this, and many of them are not happy about it. Mojo Hansen, I watched DeSantis and John Stossel's interview. We have a typical BS GOP answer on the war on drugs. Yeah, but to be fair, Donald Trump waffles on the issue too. He's like, he was asked about this back in the early 2010s, I think, and he's like, well, I support medical marijuana. Oh, but what about pot smoking in general? Well, I don't know if people should go to jail for felony charges or something, but I don't smoke weed. I've never used drugs in my life. Huge, forget about it. And he waffled on the issue too. Well, we'll chastise Trump for that particular aspect of his politicking. Hair Juicer 3000, seeing Guar in August, blood come and crack. Sleazy's gonna sell to everyone in the crowd and kill them all. Nick Severance, like I always say, Bush was a good governor too. Yeah, he seems to have done a reasonable job before he got into the presidency, didn't he? Reformed Sauron, black pills are the purpose of propaganda, Razor Fist. I agree with my brother from another mother on that one. I don't agree with him on steak or pizza toppings. Not a band account. Any advice or sources on crafting a home altar? Use whatever the hell you want, or you can get one probably pre-used on eBay by an authentic witch or something like that. eBay has, by the way, if you're looking into junk drawer lots, weird miscellanea, old paperwork, stamps, coins, stuff like that, use eBay. It's much better than Amazon for those purposes. If you like yard selling, but you want a broader selection than in your own neighborhood, I will vouch for eBay. I've gotten some incredible shit off there, some of which I flipped for a considerably larger amount because I realized it was worth far more than it was selling for, but that's another story. Yeah, you can probably get a handmade altar on there. The Patriot Cairo, Bud Light is turning the frogs gay. And then the final news story. Youngkin advisor swats new report of governor considering 24 bid, focused on Virginia. I see this as a sign. Glenn Youngkin may get into the 24 race. There's a possibility, but he's pushing this down for a reason. If DeSantis gets in, Youngkin will not. Same with Chris Christie. They will not get in. If DeSantis tonight announces, hey, I'm a governor, I'm working for the people of Florida, I understand that a lot of people want me to run, but I choose not to. I'm not going to endorse. He probably doesn't endorse anyone and hopes that someone else dethrones Trump, which won't happen in the absence of DeSantis. It goes from a 5% possibility to a sub 0% possibility, by the way, even if Trump ends up in a literal jail cell. DeSantis could do that. In that case, Christie almost certainly runs. Youngkin probably in the shadows forms an exploratory committee without announcing it probably, and then considers the possibility. Youngkin would be, in the absence of Trump, Youngkin would be a reasonable contender. As I pointed out the other day, one of the reasons why he won was because his opponent and Ralph Northam, by the way, for a different position, both imploded. So Northam with abortion, Terry McAuliffe with his educational statements, they imploded, and so Glenn Youngkin became more viable. He was behind, he quickly rose up, and he won considerably. That being said, you could pick a worse candidate. He's got the age range. He's reasonably well-spoken. He's from a state that's competitive. It's basically a 50-50 state. It leans very slightly blue, just like North Carolina leans very slightly red at this point, so they're basically counterparts. You could do worse than Youngkin, but he won't get in if DeSantis does. He's unlikely to get in even if DeSantis doesn't get in. I think he'll consider the option, look at the field and say, well, Trump is inevitable. I can always run for the lieutenant governorship next, because you can't be you can't have a consecutive term in Virginia uniquely for governor or lieutenant governor. So typically they shift back and forth as long as there are incumbents that are popular. So you're governor and then you become lieutenant governor, then governor again, or something like that. He's more likely to do that, I think, than anything else. Right now, there's a 90+% chance DeSantis gets in. That lowers the odds of Youngkin to virtually zero. The odds of Christie to near zero. If he does get in, he's a fucking fool, or he's trying to sell a book, perhaps. And so that's what will happen. I think Youngkin's standing down. A report on Monday indicated the Virginia Republican was thinking about joining the race after he initially planned to stay out of it. However, Dave Rexroad, a senior advisor to Youngkin and the chairman of pro-Youngkin Spirit of Virginia PAC, so that's a state-level PAC, this is for re-election in Virginia, which is why there shouldn't have been this fucking speculation to begin with, but I digress, steered readers away from the report on Tuesday. Governor Glenn Youngkin is focused on Virginia. Anyone who anonymously says otherwise probably isn't as close to the governor as they want people to think, he tweeted. Oh, so pointing out that the legacy media digs stories out of its ass based on sources that may or may not even exist. Many such cases. So Youngkin probably is out for 2024. 28, he could be on the short list. Of course, Trump can't run again at that point, whether he wins or loses, regardless. DeSantis may or may not torpedo his own ambitions tonight. If he announces an exploratory committee, he's out permanently. He's basically done. Pence won't run, I don't think. Nikki Haley's a joke. Hutchinson's a joke. Larry Elder's a joke. Ramaswamy, again, he has some sensible opinions, but his campaign is a joke. Well, you could do worse than Youngkin potentially down the road. Again, he's got multiple positive features about him. He does have that. Not a banned account. What money is behind China invasion scaremongering? Well, China, of course, actually is considering invading Taiwan. I just think it's a stupid consideration. And as far as talk about that, a lot of it is from Taiwan itself because they want more weapon systems. I support giving it to them, by the way. Go ahead and weaponize the island however you want to. Just make sure that they have a martial population. Introduce the Second Amendment to Taiwan and call it a day. James Willis, Trump the grifter was Fauci's warp speed wingman. False, but I hear that constantly from people who support mainly Ron DeSantis, I've noted, while also saying that there should not be in-party fighting. It's very, very strange, some of the illogical logic that I see. Anyway, I think I'm going to go offline now because I have to, at some point, I got to go out and get food. Liz is making her own salmon and I can't remember what, salmon and spinach, I think. And I don't really like salmon unless it's raw, like on sushi. So I'm thinking about making just tuna sandwiches with the good bread. You get a cornbread, and I make my tuna a little bit of extra mayo, lots and lots of celery and some sun-dried tomatoes and lots and lots of lettuce. You get that crunch in there and pile down 5 or 6 fucking sandwiches. I'm actually starving at the moment. So I'm hoping that she doesn't spend too long at the store getting my bread. That's about all.